Sina Ward was an ordinary man living an extraordinary life. As a human engineer working at Alindra Prime, the busiest space station in the galaxy, he fixed jump gate systems that connected distant star systems. The job was tough, and the place was crowded, but Sina liked the challenge. He was proud to be part of humanity's first real step into the stars. Today, however, was different. Sina was walking through a hallway he rarely used. He wanted to reach the supply bay quickly and get some rest. His stomach growled. The past few days had been stressful, and the station's food delivery was late again. He hoped he could grab a hot meal before the next big project. As Sina turned a corner, he heard voices coming from the room ahead. The voices were loud, serious, and filled with strange words he couldn't understand. Curious, he peeked inside. The room was a large hall, decorated with shining crystals and colorful banners. Standing in the middle was a tall figure wearing a flowing blue gown covered in gold threads. The figure's skin was a deep shade of violet, with sharp eyes that seemed to glow softly. It was Empress Talira Val Quinn, the ruler of the Dominion of Syrexis, one of the most powerful alien empires in the galaxy. Sina froze for a moment. He had heard stories about the Empress, cold, strict, and almost impossible to meet. Her court was full of political intrigue and danger. No outsider was allowed here, especially not a low-level human engineer. But before he could back away quietly, his foot slipped on a spilled liquid near the door. Sina tried to steady himself but instead bumped into a small table. A container of nutrient paste tipped over, splashing a thick green blob all over the Empress's gown. The room went silent. All eyes turned to Sina. For a moment, Sina expected guards to seize him or worse. He opened his mouth to apologize, but the words caught in his throat. Empress Talira looked down at the mess, then at Sina. For a long moment, her face showed nothing. Then unexpectedly she laughed, a sound clear and bright cutting through the tension like sunlight through clouds. "Is this your way of greeting an Empress human?" she said, her voice soft but amused. Sina blinked. I'm sorry, Your Majesty, it was an accident. I didn't mean to." She held up a hand. "Enough. You are forgiven." The other nobles looked shocked. No one had ever dared to joke or laugh with the Empress before. Most would have fallen to their knees or bowed deeply. But Sina, tired and embarrassed, just stood there, rubbing his arm awkwardly. Empress Talira smiled slightly. "Come, human, tell me, what is your name?" "Sina Ward," he replied, still surprised. "Good." "Sina Ward," she said. "You have a curious spirit. That is rare among your kind." Sina wasn't sure how to respond. He wasn't used to compliments, especially from alien royalty. "Do you know why I laughed?" the Empress asked, tilting her head. "No, Your Majesty," Sina said honestly. "Because you are honest. You did not try to hide or excuse yourself. You just stood there, simple and true. That is something I respect." Sina felt a strange warmth in his chest. Maybe, just maybe, this unusual moment was the start of something new. The Empress motioned for him to follow her deeper into the hall. Guards parted quietly, surprised but not stopping him. She introduced Sina to several important people, advisors, generals, diplomats, all of whom looked at him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Over the next hour, Sina found himself invited to stay for the ceremony. It was a grand event celebrating a recent peace treaty between the Dominion and another alien empire. Sina watched with wide eyes as the Empress spoke in her sharp, commanding voice. She was strong, confident, and clever. But beneath her power, Sina sensed something more. An honesty, a desire to understand others, even those from different worlds. At one point, she leaned close to Sina and whispered, "You may think this is a strange day, but you have made a good impression." Sina chuckled quietly. "I thought you were going to punish me for the paste." "Punish?" she said with a smile. "I do not punish honest mistakes. I reward honesty." As the ceremony ended, Sina was led back to the station's common area by a young Surexi aide. "What just happened?" Sina asked, still confused. The aide smiled. "You have been given an unusual honor. The Empress rarely pardons outsiders, especially humans. You are lucky." Sina rubbed his forehead, feeling the weight of the day's events. Luck or not, one thing was clear. Life on Alindra Prime was about to change for him. Before Sina left the hall, Empress Tilira called him back. "Tomorrow I want to speak with you again," she said. "There is more I wish to learn about your people." Sina hesitated, then nodded. "I'll be here." As he walked away, Sina felt a strange mix of excitement and fear. He was no longer just a human engineer. Somehow, by spilling nutrient paste on an alien empress's gown, he had stepped into a world far bigger and more dangerous than he had ever imagined. The next day, Sina Ward woke early. His thoughts were full of the strange events from the day before. How often did a human engineer get invited to meet an alien empress again? Hardly ever, if at all. He dressed quickly and made his way back to the Grand Hall on Alindra Prime. The station buzzed with its usual busy noise. Ships docking, voices echoing in the corridors, lights blinking on control panels. But inside the Empress's chambers, everything was calm and quiet. When Sina arrived, Empress Tilira was waiting for him. She wore a simpler robe than the day before, but her presence filled the room like a star's light. "Welcome back, Sina." "Ward," she said, her voice smooth and steady. "I want to learn more about your people. Humans are different." Sina smiled. "Different can be good," he said. Tilira raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "Well, humans survive in many places. We don't always have the strongest technology or the biggest fleets, but we find ways. We fight hard and work together when it matters most." The Empress nodded slowly. "That is a quality I admire." For the next hour, they talked. Sina told her stories about Earth, its cities, its history, its people. He spoke about how humans had learned to explore space despite dangers and difficulties. Tilira listened carefully, asking questions that showed she truly wanted to understand. "You speak of your people with pride," she said finally. "I wonder if they know how brave they are." Sina felt a warm feeling inside. It was the first time an alien ruler had spoken so kindly about humans. Their talks became a routine. Every day, Sina returned to the Empress's chambers to share stories, answer questions, and sometimes just listen to her thoughts about ruling an empire. The court whispered about this unusual friendship. Some nobles thought it strange, even dangerous, for the Empress to spend time with a human. Others were curious. Maybe humanity was stronger than they expected. One day, Sina asked, "Why do you want to know so much about humans?" Tilira looked out a window toward the stars. "Because the galaxy is changing. Old alliances are breaking. New threats are rising. I need to understand who might stand with me." Sina frowned. "Are you worried?" "Always," she said honestly. "Ruling is not easy. You must be strong but also wise. I see something in humans. A fire that is hard to control but powerful when used right." Their conversations grew deeper. Tilira shared her worries about the Dominion's future, the enemies lurking beyond their borders, the spies within her court, the pressure from powerful alien families who wanted her to fail. Sina wanted to help but felt small in the grand scheme of things. He was just one man from a small planet. One afternoon, as they talked, the Empress said something that surprised him. "If anyone threatens you, Sina, I will protect you. Against anyone." Sina blinked. "I thought you were joking." Tilira's eyes were steady. "I am not. You have shown me something rare. Honesty, courage, and loyalty. Those are qualities worth defending." Sina felt a mix of disbelief and honor. "Why me? Why would you risk so much for a human?" "Because," she said, "sometimes the strongest power is the one unexpected. Your people have strength I respect, and I believe you respect me in return." At that moment, Sina realized their bond was more than just talks and stories. It was a promise, a connection that could change everything. But life on Alindra Prime was not so simple. Rumors began to spread. Whispers of an alliance between a human and the Empress were not welcome news to all. One evening, as Sina left the Empress's chambers, a shadow followed him through the halls. He didn't see the figure at first, but a faint sound behind him made him quicken his steps. Suddenly, a hand grabbed his shoulder. Sina spun around to face a tall man in dark clothing. "Who sent you?" Sina demanded. The man smirked. "No one. Just a warning, stay away from the Empress, human. You are dangerous for her and for yourself." Before Sina could react, the man vanished into the crowd. Sina's heart raced. Was this a threat? Was someone trying to stop his meetings with Talira? He decided he needed to warn the Empress. When Sina returned to her chambers, he found her waiting, calmly. "I was expecting you," she said. Sina told her what happened, and Talira's expression grew serious. "Enemies do not like change," she said. "They fear what they do not understand. But I will not let fear rule me." Sina looked at her with new respect. "What will you do?" "I will protect you, Sina, and together we will face whatever comes." From that moment, Sina knew his life was no longer his own. He was part of something much bigger, a dangerous, exciting story unfolding among the stars. And the Empress was his unexpected ally. Sina Ward had never expected to be important. An engineer from Earth, working on a remote space station. He thought his life would be about machines and repairs, not politics or danger. But since meeting Empress Talira Val Quinn, everything had changed. The warning Sina received was no joke. Shadows moved in the corridors, whispers filled the halls, and he could feel eyes watching him wherever he went. He tried to stay calm, but the tension was real. One evening, while walking back to his quarters, Sina noticed a group of strange figures lurking near the docking bay. They wore dark armor and masks that hid their faces. Something about them felt wrong, like they did not belong. Sina's heart beat faster. He decided to take a different route, but it was too late. From the shadows, two men stepped forward, blocking his path. "Going somewhere, human?" one said, his voice cold. Sina's mind raced. He had no weapons, no help, only his courage. "Who sent you?" Sina demanded, trying to sound braver than he felt. The man laughed. "No one. We don't need orders. You're a problem for some people. Best to disappear quietly." Before Sina could react, one of the men lunged forward. Sina dodged quickly but stumbled. He reached for anything to defend himself, a metal pipe, a tool, but the attackers were fast. Just as one of the men raised a weapon, a sharp sound cut through the air. The attackers froze. A figure stepped from the shadows, tall, armored, and commanding. It was Empress Talira. Her eyes glowed fiercely beneath her helmet. Without hesitation, she raised a sleek energy weapon and fired a single, precise shot. The attacker nearest her dropped instantly. The other man hesitated, then fled into the night. Sina stared in disbelief. "Empress," he whispered. Talira removed her helmet, revealing a calm but fierce face. "You are mine to protect, Sina Ward," she said quietly. "And I mean it." Sina swallowed hard. "I thought you were joking before." Her eyes locked on his. "I never joke about those I protect." The station's security soon arrived, and the area was secured. News of the attack spread quickly. A public statement, Empress Talira made a shocking announcement. "Anyone who harms this human shall answer to me," she declared before a crowd of nobles, diplomats, and journalists. To attack him is to declare war on the Dominion itself. The room fell silent. Then whispers erupted. Some applauded, believing the Empress showed strength and fairness. Others frowned, calling her reckless or weak for defending a human so openly. Sina felt the weight of the moment. He was no longer just a visitor or engineer. He was under the Empress's protection, and that made him a symbol. In the days that followed, Sina noticed a change in how people treated him. Some admired his courage. Others avoided him, fearing the consequences of being associated with him. Meanwhile, Talira's enemies in the court worked quickly. Your Majesty, one advisor warned, this human is causing unrest. The senators say you risk the Dominion's stability. Talira listened but did not waver. I will not abandon someone who has earned my trust, she said firmly. Strength is not only in fleets or weapons, it is in loyalty and honor. Sina watched her carefully. He had seen leaders before, but none like her, willing to stand alone if needed. One afternoon, as the Empress prepared for a meeting with her council, Sina approached her. Why defend me so openly? He asked. She looked at him with a small smile. Because you remind me of something important, that even the smallest person can change the course of history. Sina nodded slowly, feeling more respect and admiration than ever before. But the peace was fragile. The attack was just the beginning. Reports arrived of more threats against Sina, and worse, rumors of rebellion stirred within the Dominion. Enemies who wanted to weaken Talira's rule saw Sina as a tool to use or destroy. The Empress knew the danger. She invited Sina to stay closer to her side, offering him protection and a place in her inner circle. At first, Sina hesitated. He was not a politician or a soldier, but he also realized that running away was no longer an option. Very well, he said. I will stand with you. Talira nodded, her eyes shining. Good. Together we will face anything. As Sina settled into his new role, he began to see the galaxy differently. It was not just about machines and technology anymore. It was about people, alliances, and courage. And most of all, it was about standing firm when the world tried to push you down. That night, Sina looked up at the stars from the balcony of the Empress's palace. The galaxy was vast and dangerous, but for the first time, he felt ready, because he was no longer alone. He was protected by a queen. The days after Empress Talira's bold declaration were far from calm. Elindra Prime felt like a powder keg waiting to explode. Nobles whispered in dark corners. Diplomats exchanged cold looks. The galaxy's balance of power was shifting, and not everyone liked it. Sina Ward noticed the change immediately. People who once ignored him now watched his every move. Some offered cautious smiles. Others barely hid their suspicion. The Empress's enemies saw Sina as a weak point, a human, a stranger, someone to attack to weaken Talira's rule. And many were ready to strike. One morning, Sina was called to a private meeting with the Empress. She sat behind her large crystal desk, her expression serious. Sina, she said, the court is divided. Some say I have made a mistake by protecting you so openly. Sina nodded. I've felt that too. There are whispers everywhere. Talira sighed. Those whispers are not just words. They are seeds of rebellion. Do you think someone will try to remove you? Or me? Sina asked quietly. Both, she said. But I will not be driven out by fear. The Empress leaned forward, her eyes burning with determination. We must show strength, not just with weapons, but with wisdom. I need your help, Sina. Your ideas, your courage. Sina swallowed his nerves. I want to help, but I don't know much about politics or war. You know more than you think, Talira replied. Sometimes seeing the world from a different view is the greatest strength. Over the next days, Sina was introduced to the Dominion's Council, a group of powerful leaders and generals who shaped the future. Some greeted him with respect, others barely concealed their disdain. During meetings, Sina listened carefully. He shared his thoughts about teamwork, trust, and adapting to change. One counselor sneered, "A human teaching us about war? Ridiculous." But others saw the value in his ideas. The Empress stood by him, defending his right to speak. Outside the council chambers, tension rose. Rebel groups, unhappy with Talira's leadership, grew bolder. One evening, Sina and Talira attended a public festival meant to show unity. The crowds were large and festive, but beneath the smiles, danger lurked. As the Empress spoke from the balcony, a sudden explosion rocked the plaza below. People screamed and scattered. Smoke rose and chaos erupted. Sina's heart pounded. He grabbed Talira's arm. "Stay close," she ordered, her voice calm but urgent. The Empress's guards moved quickly, securing the area. But the message was clear. The rebellion was no longer hidden. Back inside the palace, Talira's advisors argued fiercely. "This is war," one said. "We must strike first." "No," the Empress replied firmly. "We must protect our people and avoid needless bloodshed." Sina watched her carefully. Her strength was not just in power, but in mercy. "We need a plan," Sina said, "that uses both your forces and humanity's abilities." Talira smiled slightly. "You learn fast." Together, they began crafting a strategy to defend the Dominion and Earth's colonies. Sina suggested using human technology in new ways: fast communications, flexible defenses, and surprise tactics. The Empress agreed to send him to meet with human leaders, building a stronger alliance. But the court's unrest grew. The Empress's cousin, Lord Varric, began spreading rumors that Sina was a spy, trying to steal Sirexi's secrets. Sina knew these lies could be dangerous. One night, as he walked through the palace gardens, he found a note slipped under his door. "Leave, now or you will die." He felt a chill. The threat was real. He showed the note to Talira, who studied it with a cold gaze. "They want to frighten you," she said. "But they will not win." "I'm not sure I can do this," Sina admitted. "I'm just a human." Talira reached out and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are more than you know, and I will defend you against anyone." Her words gave Sina strength. He realized that with her support, he could face any challenge. Together, they prepared for the battles ahead, both in the stars and within the palace walls. The future was uncertain, but Sina no longer felt alone. He was standing beside an Empress ready to fight for him and for the future of two worlds. The days following the explosion in the plaza were tense and full of whispers. Elindra Prime was no longer the safe, bustling station it once was. Every corner seemed to hold a secret, every face a hidden fear. Sina Ward felt the weight of danger more than ever. The note threatening his life was only the start. His footsteps were watched and shadows seemed to follow him through the halls, but the Empress stood firm. She moved through her duties with a quiet strength, showing no fear even as rebellion brewed around her. One morning, Sina joined Talira in the war room, a large chamber filled with holographic maps and glowing screens. Around the table sat her closest advisors and military commanders, all tense but ready. "We need to find the rebels' base," Talira said, "before they strike again." Sina pointed to a cluster of star systems near the Dominion's border. "There's a pattern here. These systems are far from our main fleets, but close enough to cause trouble." A general nodded. "We've sent patrols, but the rebels hide well." Talira's eyes met Sina's. "Your people's tactics may help us." Sina explained how humans used small, fast ships and surprise attacks to gain advantages. "We don't always win by power, sometimes by being smart." The Empress smiled. "Good. We will combine our forces." That night, Sina returned to his quarters, feeling tired but hopeful. He knew this was only the beginning of a long fight. Suddenly, his communicator beeped. It was a message from an unknown sender. "Meet me in the lower docking bay at midnight. I have information about the rebels." Sina's heart raced. Could it be a trap? He debated telling the Empress, but decided to go. If someone wanted to help, he had to listen. At midnight, Sina sneaked to the docking bay, careful to avoid guards and cameras. There in the dim light stood a figure cloaked in dark robes. "Who are you?" Sina asked quietly. The figure lowered their hood, revealing a young woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. "My name is Lyra," she said. "I am part of the rebellion, but not like the others. I want peace." Sina frowned. "Why help me?" "Because the rebellion is full of lies and hate. Some want war, but I believe there's another way." Lyra handed him a small data chip. This shows secret plans for an attack on Elindra Prime. You need to warn the Empress. Sina took the chip carefully. How do I know you're telling the truth? Lyra smiled sadly. You don't. But you have to decide what to believe. Sina nodded, knowing the risk. He hurried back to the palace and found Talira in the strategy room. Empress, I have information about a planned attack, he said, showing her the data chip. Talira examined it closely. This is serious. We must prepare immediately. She ordered the city to increase security and sent ships to patrol the suspected areas. As they worked, Sina felt a new respect for the Empress. Her calm under pressure and quick decisions saved lives, but the threat was closer than they thought. 2 days later, rebels attacked a supply convoy near the station. Fierce fighting broke out in space, with ships darting through asteroid fields and laser blasts lighting the darkness. The Dominion's fleet was strong, but the rebels were clever and desperate. Sina watched from the command center, his hands clenched tightly. Send reinforcements, he urged. Talira nodded. We will not let them win. The battle lasted for hours, ending with the rebels retreating but leaving destruction behind. Back on the station, injured soldiers were treated, and the Empress comforted her people. Sina stood by her side, feeling more connected than ever. Thank you for trusting me, he said quietly. Talira smiled. You have earned my trust. Together, we are stronger. But Sina knew the road ahead would be harder. The rebellion was not just about power. It was about fear, pain, and old grudges, and some battles could not be won by weapons alone. That night, Sina looked out at the stars, thinking of Lyra and the rebels who wanted peace. Maybe he thought the real strength was in finding a way to end the fight before more lives were lost. For now, though, he would stand with the Empress, his protector, his ally, and the hope for a better future. The attack had shaken Elindra Prime, but the Empress and her people were not broken. If anything, they grew stronger. The rebellion was a dark shadow over the Dominion, but Talira's courage and Sina's steady support gave hope. After the battle, Talira summoned Sina to her private chambers. The room was quiet, filled with soft light from glowing crystals. We cannot only fight with ships and weapons, she said, her voice calm but firm. We must find the heart of the rebellion and understand why they fight. Sina nodded. Lyra said some want peace. Maybe we can reach them. Talira studied him thoughtfully. A wise plan, but dangerous. They began to prepare for a mission, a secret journey to meet with rebel leaders and try to bring them back to peace. Sina felt nervous, but determined. He was not a soldier, but he wanted to help end the war. Their ship was small and fast, designed for stealth. As they left the station, Sina looked back at the glowing lights of Elindra Prime, the place that had changed his life forever. The journey was tense. The space outside the Dominion was dark and empty, filled with distant stars and hidden dangers. Lyra piloted the ship herself, her hands steady on the controls. Why do you trust me? Sina asked quietly during the trip. The Empress smiled faintly. Because you remind me that strength comes from trust, and because I see something in you, a light even in dark times. Sina looked away, feeling a mix of pride and pressure. After hours of travel, they arrived at a hidden rebel base on a small moon. The surface was rocky and barren, with makeshift buildings and guarded entrances. They were met by a group of rebels led by Lyra. Her sharp eyes softened when she saw Talira and Sina. You came, Lyra said simply. Talira nodded. We want peace. We want to understand. The rebels were suspicious but allowed them inside. Inside the base, Sina saw the pain behind the rebellion. Families torn apart, colonies abandoned, people who had lost hope. Lyra showed them a map with many systems under rebel control, places ignored by the Dominion for too long. Our people suffer, Lyra said. We fight because no one listens. Talira listened without anger, her face gentle. We want to change that, she said. But fighting only brings more pain. Help me find a better way. The meeting lasted late into the night. Ideas were exchanged, promises made. Talira offered aid, food, medicine, protection, if the rebels would stop fighting and join the Dominion as equals. It was a risk, but one the Empress was willing to take. Sina felt hope rising. Maybe this was the start of something new, but not everyone agreed. As they prepared to leave, a messenger arrived with urgent news. "Lord Varric has declared you enemies of the state," the man said grimly. "He is gathering forces to attack this base." Talira's face hardened. "We must warn the rebels and prepare to defend them." Sina's heart pounded. The danger was closer than ever. Back on the ship, they alerted the rebel leaders and organized defenses. The following day, ships bearing Varric's banner appeared in orbit, their weapons aimed at the moon. Talira's fleet was small, but ready. The rebels fought alongside her, united for the first time. The battle was fierce and desperate. Lasers lit the sky. Explosions shook the ground and brave pilots risked everything. Sina stayed on the command ship, coordinating with both Dominion and rebel forces. "Hold the line," he shouted over the comms. "We can't lose now." Talira led a squadron herself, her skill and courage inspiring everyone. Slowly, the attackers began to fall back. When the fighting ended, the moon was scarred but safe. Talira stood before the rebels and her own people, her voice strong. "Today we proved that unity is stronger than hate," she said. "Together, we will build a better future." Sina looked at her with admiration. The Empress was more than a ruler. She was a true leader. As the rebel leaders agreed to join the Dominion under new terms, Sina felt a deep sense of accomplishment. But he also knew their journey was far from over. Peace was fragile, and enemies still lurked in the shadows. Still, with Talira by his side, he believed they could face whatever came next. The heart of the Empire was not its weapons or fleets. It was the people willing to protect and fight for what was right. And Sina Ward had found his place among them. The battles were over, for now. The rebellion had been crushed not by force alone, but by understanding and unity. The rebels who once fought in shadows now stood openly with the Dominion, ready to rebuild what had been broken. Sina Ward stood beside Empress Talira Valquin as she addressed the crowd gathered in the Grand Hall of Alindra Prime. The air was thick with hope and new beginnings. "Today marks a new dawn," Talira declared, her voice steady and clear. "Our empire has faced great darkness, but together we have found the light." The crowd erupted in cheers. For many, it was the first time they believed peace could last. Sina looked out at the faces, aliens and humans alike, people who had once feared each other but now shared a future. Beside him, Talira's hand brushed his arm gently. "You have done well, Sina," she said softly. "Your courage helped change everything." He smiled, feeling the weight of the journey behind them. "But it was your faith that saved us all," he replied. Days passed in a whirlwind of rebuilding. The damaged stations were repaired, alliances strengthened, and new leaders chosen from among the rebels and Dominion citizens alike. Sina found himself at the center of this change, a human, once an outsider, now a trusted advisor and friend to the Empress. Yet, even in these hopeful times, challenges remained. One evening, as the sun set over the twin moons of Alindra Prime, Sina and Talira stood on the palace balcony, looking out at the stars. "Do you ever wonder what comes next?" Sina asked. Talira nodded. "Peace is only the start. We must guard it, nurture it. But I believe we are ready." Suddenly, a message arrived from Earth, a request for help. A distant colony faced threats from a mysterious force unknown to the Dominion. Sina felt a familiar stir in his heart, the call of adventure, the need to protect. "We must go," he said. Talira smiled. Together. The Empress and Sina prepared a fleet for the journey, ready to defend not just their home, but all who needed aid. As they departed, Sina reflected on how much his life had changed, from a simple engineer to a hero standing with a queen. He thought of the battles, the threats, the doubts, and of the promise they had made to each other, to protect, to stand strong, to defend against anyone who would bring harm. In the vast galaxy, their story was just beginning, and with Empress Tellera by his side, Cena knew they could face whatever stars held in store.